Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, collectors of all ages, welcome back to AussieVerse, where we are here with another live chat coming at you. And we have a couple of special guests today. We have Max Ferrada from Stellarlands. We'll be talking about that. What is it? Well, you've come to the right place. And also Sizzle, Shane from Comx, and joined as always Sharif and Single Issue Steve. How are you, boys? Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, lads.
Very well, thank you.
Been looking forward to this little week.
Yeah,
Fantastic.
likewise.
If you do want to hit us up, go to Instagram, where you can check us out as AussieVerse_comics, where you can also check out our graphic designer, A51_designs. And we already have a comment there. Kerry, g'day. All right.
Okay, Kez.
Hello, Perry.
So, Max, thank you very much for joining us here today, man.
My pleasure.
Anytime. Yeah, really pumped, man, because I actually read the comic today and I was blown away, bro. I really, really sincerely was. It's the quality is like up there with. It's just like reading a Marvel and a DC comic, man, and it's really, really good. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself first, and then we'll go into the book, eh?
Okay, yeah, sure. Well, first of all, Bo, thank you very much for reading it. I really do appreciate it. Artwork or a piece of art is only half finished until it's seen or read or consumed in some form. So I just want to tell you that I really appreciate it. Thanks for reading my comic, man. Second, all right. So, what was the question you asked for? Like a condensed version of a biography? Is that correct?
Yeah. Whatever you want to share about yourself.
I am a person. I am. How do you define yourself, really? Okay, if you're gonna go the traditional route and define yourself with what you do with your time for a living, I work for a boutique videography firm or a media production firm. I'm a videographer, mostly in the editing suite. No 2 days are different. One day I could be cutting up a 2-day seminar on financial responsibility, on fiscal planning, on bonus structures, which is what I've been doing today. Other days I could be editing a package for a tourism event, for a tourist site, or showing how grants are being used in various rural properties. Other times I could be editing one of my own passion projects, be it an animated short film or really out there experimental display of movement and just something weird. But yeah, if we're going to go by that in terms of biography, I would say that I'm a filmmaker. I have a degree in the craft, and that's what I do for a living. But thanks to the auspices of COVID and lockdown, I wasn't doing any filmmaking. When it comes to filmmaking, you need an army, as Alan Moore said. You need a troop. You need a squad right there with you. Hello, Claudia. And but when it comes to comic books, all you really need is a biro, which is what not strictly true for someone who only writes. I needed, 50% of it is visual, I tip my hat and I owe a debt of gratitude to Ben, who is the artist. And during lockdown, we came together, and he agreed to bring to visual fruition this script that I wrote while we were in lockdown. When was it? 2021, September, thereabouts. And I feel bad saying this because I know a lot of people had a hard time during lockdown, but I have to say that I was in my element. I had a great time. I made a comic book. I took Udemy courses and upskilled in a lot of things, learned a new language. I was all over the Tinder as well. I was flirting like hell on really introverted dates, and I caught up on a lot of reading. I yeah, I was catching up on the canon. I was reading Evelyn Waugh and Virginia Woolf, and yeah, I just loved Lockdown. And yeah, well, yeah, I'm grateful for the fact that we were given that time, and I was able to utilize it in the most rewarding, creative way possible. And so that's that's another long-winded response to my biography, I suppose.
That was very good, man. I'm glad lockdown worked for someone.
Yeah, introverts, introverts. That's how it is. That's how it is for us. Yeah.
I'm an extrovert, and I actually enjoyed lockdown as well, but don't tell anyone.
All right. What did you get up to, Steve?
Well, I don't know where you're located, mate, but here in Victoria at 8 o'clock at night, at one stage we were in like complete lockdown. You weren't allowed out of your house. So sitting out in the backyard with the fire pit going at 8 o'clock at night, it was like being on holiday. No cars. It was just super quiet. It was actually a couple of quiet drinkies and then didn't have to drive anywhere. It was actually really nice.
Did you get? I find that if I don't do anything, I get too stuck in my own head, if that makes sense. You get caught up in the permutations and the what could have beens, and no.
And,
not
and
for me.
that's
No, I agree with that.
half the reason I read comics.
Yeah.
All right.
So, Stellarlands, where did this
Yes,
come
sir.
from? Where did this come from, mate? Because I don't know what you're into or what you've read. I've got a little bit of an idea, maybe after reading a one issue, if I wanted to take a guess. But it was to me, it's a very self-contained story for the first issue, but you can tell that there is some big epic stuff coming, and it really felt like the way I felt when I first read Saga. That's the best way that I could put it. I don't know if you know that. Book.
It's on my reading list. It comes about. It's frequently recommended along with Daniel Close and Crumb and a lot of other comic books. But yes, it is self-contained. That is not an accident. I'm very happy that you were able to point that out, because it shows that which I was glimpsing. Hi, Peter. He did the graphic design for the book. That which I was glimpsing, the hints, which the lore and the world building, it emerged at a point that was detectable. What I'm strictly trying to create is 8 self-contained stories which take place and interweave in the same universe. So a main character in the story that you just read would hello Deshaun, would be like a side character or a supporting character in another issue, and they're all combined and intersected in the Central War with the Pellethrexels, which is what was depicted in the first issue. In that sense, I derived a lot of my inspiration from The Wire. Hey, Rob, I am such a big fan of The Wire, perhaps to an unhealthy extent. I watched and rewatched it. I'm totally obsessed with that show. And one of its strengths is that it doesn't necessarily focus on a specific set of characters as it does environments and institutions. Season 1 would concentrate in the street. Season 2, the docks. Season 3, would politics. Season 4, school. Season 5, journalism. And as a result, some people who you see on the docks in a role of primacy in season 2 would show up in a bit part in season 5 when they were focusing on journalism. And I just love that world building. It's been described as Balzacian. I mean, I'm not going to be smart enough to pretend that I've read Balzac, but apparently that's how it works. He wrote a series of these gargantuan, lush novels where these characters and stories collide. And that's what I was aiming for. If I can cite an influence or an inspiration.
Nice,
cool.
Sharif.
I think I'd like that idea where that the universe is so big and you're playing with so many characters, and then at one point where out of the blue someone from somewhere else just pops in
Yes.
Hello. Yeah, it's like a callback that pays off.
Yes. And in order to make those callback work, there's a lot of planning. You have to plant a lot of seeds, which can't be too obvious. They have to be done naturally and in a way that's fluid within all issues. And that's that's what I was definitely trying to go for. Hoping it pays off.
And hats off to you because I could only imagine how far ahead you can plan for this to happen.
Oh yes, well I've written the skeleton for all 8 issues, and once you get busy writing the plot, which scene comes after, what you need to connect with this issue with that issue. Once you've transposed this veritable web, when it actually comes down to writing, the writing just floods out of you. It's like you're taking the tape out of the characters' mouths after they've been suffocated for so long. Now they can speak, and it all comes, and you know where it's going, you know how it's going to get there, you know what beats to hit, and the writing process becomes less a process and more something that is in the that you're contained within, as opposed to you containing it. Yeah.
Cool.
So I guess the planning of a limited series is, you mentioned 8 issues, and
Yes.
everything's going to be told within that 8 issues. I mean, just
Yes.
sitting down, plotting everything, it's self-contained, so everything will be so tight, story-wise.
Yeah, well, the parts of it which are expressly designed to call back to the other issues, yes, that part is tight. But yeah, I did give myself a lot of freedom to experiment and do some fun things, and cool little one-liners that make the comic book medium so digestible and awesome. So yeah, I mean, you got to have fun with it as well as you also have to take the world building very seriously in order for it to work as well. And yeah, there's also a lot of research done as well. I have solicited the help of a few professionals in the field of science and politics to help me find a grounded way of explaining the intricacies of the world, be it geopolitics, expanding into intergalactic politics and doing that in a very realistic way, or time dilation. That's one thing that messes. I love Star Trek and Star Wars, but when they go to other planets, they just step out like it's another neighborhood. That's not how it works. You travel another galaxy and time is different. And yeah, you could come back an old man, or you can come back and not have aged at all, and everybody else is old. These are the inevitabilities of science and world building within realistic parameters when we expand and go to space. All of this is it's going to be a real problem when we master space travel, I dare say.
Max, I had to read a bit tonight, mate. I actually really enjoyed it as well. One of the things I love the artwork, and I love the story, but one of the things I really like about it is you drop straight into it straight away. There's not a lot of sort of behind the scenes building and everything. You just go bang straight into the story, and I thought that was a really cool. It grabbed you straight away. So well done, mate. It was really good. Really
Thank you
enjoyed
very
it.
much. Yes. Character is king. If you like the characters, if they've been fleshed out, or if you've got a vivid picture of them within the first few pages or minutes, regardless of the medium, the story will follow. Character comes first. Character is king.
So I've created a lot as well, but it's all in my mind. So a question that I've got for you is, when you are creating, when you've got an idea, right, and you think, yep, that's going to be a really cool story, is it the story that comes to your mind first, or is it certain characters that you've become attracted to as a character in your mind, and then you place them in a story, or is it a mixture of both?
For me, neither. For
Okay.
me, it's a scene. It's a scene. It's a visual scene, or it's it's a situation that I've fleshed out, and then from that pearl, everything else expands. And for this, for Stellarlands, the first scene that got in my head was when she lands on the planet. You know, she has superpowers. She lands on the planet. It's not a comfortable landing because she's got the forces of entropy and she's fighting laws of physics. And when she gets up, her ribs are hurt and she's clutching herself and she says, "I should have come in circling." And you know, if she came in circling, she would have gone with the circumference of the moon and she would have landed in a much smoother fashion. But instead, she went straight down, and from there, from that situation, a character emerged. My character wasn't going to be Dr. Manhattan. She wasn't going to be a preacher. She was going to be someone who you could really knock around and who'd fall flat and get hurt, and she wouldn't stand up from every blaster shot. She would, things. Just because you're invincible doesn't mean it still doesn't hurt. You know, this is a character who's going to feel the environment, and as a result of her feeling that environment, we feel that environment. We feel the linearity of her pain, and we're right there. We're right down there with her. And most importantly, we're in a world where it's very possible that the main character could die. And once you internalize that, I do believe you're far more invested in how the fiction unfolds. Yeah, thank you, Peter.
Yeah,
So-
like the rest of like the rest of the team, I was fortunate to I think the first half of it, when the main character was being introduced, she was standing in front of the council, and one of them said, you know, she may have superpowers, but she's taking this long just to recover from an injury. And when she went smack into the moon and crushing her ribs, that she's vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
She can get hurt. Yeah.
Yes, she needs longer than normal intervals of recuperation, and you got, if you're a superhuman, there's still the human. You know, you can't be super all the time. There's that human element that makes you more interesting. I think Billy Butcher is probably the most interesting character in The Boys. You know, just because you have superpowers doesn't automatically make you cool. It's the human element behind the superpowers.
So what brought you to the Comx family? Why Comx?
Why Comx?
Yeah.
Well, Comx said yes. You're gonna ask that question, but I sent a lot of feelers out, and Comx snapped me up pretty quickly, and from there, I do feel I've been in good hands. It was confirmed when I went to Supernova Comic-Con. And I swear, Sizz at that Comic-Con, he was like Hugh Hefner over there. Everybody, where's Sizz? We've been going to the stall. He's never there. He's floating around. And I think in seeing that, it's obvious that I've landed in proximity to someone who has deep internalized knowledge of the Australian comic book community, but also the Australian indie comic book community. And speaking as someone who spends a lot of their time indoors, doesn't really talk a lot, I mean, that sort of extroversion is it really balances out my my introversion. Yes.
Well, it looks really good. I believe we have a video that we can show off as well.
Oh yeah, perfect.
Let's take a look, because I did take a sneak peek before the show, and I was pretty damn impressed with this, if I do say so myself. This is really cool. Here we go. Stellarlands.
Hell yeah.
Was that not epic?
Yeah. You know what? Yeah, it's not that impressive. I mean, that didn't take long to do, and anybody who knows After Effects and Premiere Pro who's seen this, they're yeah, I think that they might be just a little bit impressed. But that's what I do for a living.
Don't talk yourself down.
That got me pumped waiting for the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we need a few $100 million given the world building that's involved. But yeah, that's another reason why I opted for comic books, because you definitely need a budget for something that big, and for that something that intricate and something that galactic. And I would probably not be the most responsible custodian for $100 million budget. It'll probably turn into like Valerian in the City of the Thousands, a piece of shit like that. So the comic books. I think that's a safer but also a no less rewarding avenue for expression.
So is this your first comic?
It is my first comic book. Yes.
Oh damn!
Yes.
What a first comic, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah. No, I can't believe it myself, but it may have been my first comic book, but I was also under the wing of SK, who is the letterer. He may have already been on the show. I'd be surprised if he hadn't, but he's also the comic book guru in Sydney, and he helped me with composing the letters that got into Sizzle's emails. He gave me a really granular step-by-step process of the whole enterprise of comic book making. And he also recommended some great titles to read. And people who recommend films, books, comic books, they're some of the most important people in your life, I have to say.
So what are your goals now with Stellarlands? Is it obviously 8 issues?
Yes.
What are you hoping for?
Well, Jack, there's the long game, and then there's a short game. The short game was that video. So if you saw that, pledge now. We launched a week ago, and we're 86% of the way there in terms of printing. But yeah, we also would love to develop a fan base. So if you've read it, tell people, help us get this universe off the ground. Hang on, give me a second. Here's the copy of Stellarlands comic book, and if you go, here it is. And I have to say that Comx did a wonderful job with the cover, which was lovingly drawn and expertly colored by Ben and Wilson, and put together with such professionalism by Peter Wilson, I believe. And there is the penultimate page that says, "Thank you to all those who made the Stellarlands universe possible." And that page is currently blank, but we hope to fill it with your names, the names of the people who make pledges. And if this comic book goes somewhere, you will be among the first in that congregation of pledgers. And you'll have your name on something that could mean something to a lot of people, which I hope will mean a lot of things to a lot of people in a very short amount of time. But also, I would definitely appreciate it, and as part of the community, I will also be more than happy, and I already have to make pledges to other projects as well. So that's what's the beautiful aspect of being part of the community. And that's the short game. The long game is getting these 8 issues off the ground. I've already, like I said, I've made the skeletons for a lot of the issues. I've made first drafts for some of the issues. Right now, I'm writing one of the issues is centered around politics and what happens in an intergalactic war on a political level. So I've been doing a lot of research, been watching a lot of West Wing, and I can't wait to get that all on paper. So that's the long game. So on one hand you're creating, and on the other hand you're publicizing, and you're trying to build an audience. You're making something to be seen, and you're getting seen.
Well, I even love just this intro. Well, not intro, blurb. I don't know what you call it. Biography of yourself on the comic here, if I may.
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you very much. Max was discovered on the remote moon of Callisto, living and writing in forced isolation after having been banished for authorizing a book that ran afoul some very powerful galactic senators. But when questioned on the terms of his expulsion, it soon came to light that Max's book had in fact offended no one, and that he had been living in lunar isolation for several years of his own accord. Forced back into civilization by his contract holders at Comx, Max now writes in the luxury of a full-furnished office, but is often zapped by a taser pointer whenever his diligence wanes. That's great. That's great.
Yeah, the accompanying illustration of Sizz as Darth Vader. Shout out to, I believe, what's his Tony Rob. I should know his name.
Oh, Davo77.
Yeah.
There you go, mate. There you go. You get another pledge as long as I'm not in it. Bang.
Yeah.
So how long?
Yeah.
Sorry, mate. After you.
Oh yeah. Well, that's just that picture of me is just that the biography is probably what my ancestors will be in. Not my ancestors. The other way around. My descendants would be in. During our spacefaring future. Yeah.
Well, I don't know if you know, but Sharif is the king of custom binding. So if he ends up getting all 8 issues, I'm telling you, he's going to make a hardcover out of your book.
I was
cry.
Once Max said 8 issues, I was already there. And that's my follow-up question, Max. What sort of timeline are you working at to reach your end game?
No time limit. If it takes 5 years, it takes 5 years. If we all come back here in 50 years' time, when we're all 80 years old, I'll probably still look the same because
you're messed up, right?
Everybody else will look really old. But each time we'll have this discussion again. I'm open for that as well.
Yes, there'll be a camera on my headstone in 50 years.
Hope you can put cremated people back together.
My portrait will be on the wall.
No, come on. We'll be around. If not, we'll put our brains in cyborgs or sort of conscience uploading AI, and we'll be having this discussion in 50 years' time, or we'll be having it in 5 years' time. I don't know. I'm not pressed. If it happens, it happens. I'm just glad to be alive, I'm just glad to be doing this. I'm glad to be, find myself in this country where you have these freedoms. I'm a Filipino immigrant, and I'm like maybe 1 or 2 generations away from poverty, from working in a farm in central Philippines. So it's not lost on me how incredibly fortunate I am to be a first generation immigrant in a country, in a developed nation, and I'm happy to be doing this. Goodness knows this wouldn't happen in a stricter Asian household,
Sharif shakes his head.
Yeah, you and I both first generation, Max.
Yeah, man. Why you're not your doctor? Yeah.
So Shane, when I don't know how this works. I'm just making this question up as I go. But when a creator, writer, artist, I nearly said artist, person who can draw, when they approach you and they're like, hey, I've got this project, and I need some help backing it up, or whatever the conversation is. Mm-hmm. What is it, without revealing, I guess, too much of the inner workings of Comx, what is it that stands out from the people that makes you go, yep, you know what, I see the potential in this, I'm going to do it? Or politely decline for whatever reasons that you do? I don't know if that was a question. Or not.
I guess the oh. I'm all over the shop. Whoa. Yeah, probably the best way to sum it up is Comx is about helping indie creators who are trying to get their book published, trying to get more information from other creators on what to do. I mean, there is Comx Studio, which is who is publishing Max's book. But there's also Comx Network, which is all about just helping creators. So they kind of cross over a lot. So Comx Studio, there is a level that's required, and we will help and point them in the right direction if they're not quite ready to publish. But a lot of the time, we're just there to help them either self-publish and give them the helping hand so they can do it themselves, or like in Max's case, where we help them run a Kickstarter and get everything published and do a lot of the graphic design work and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah. Cool.
Does that answer the question? I don't know.
Yeah. Steve, when you read the book, mate, what did it remind you of? Because you're not a huge Marvel guy. You read a bit of DC and some indie stuff. So did anything pop into your mind when you read it, or nothing at all? It didn't remind you of anything in a good way? Singlish Steve, you there?
Slight delay.
Let me direct that question now to you, Sharif. Same question, but you.
Like I said, I only managed the first half of issue 1. Like Max said, I was able to see some of the influences of what has come before, but it's the use of how one idea from a particular genre all comes together. It's the characterization, but the art, man, it does remind me of something I've seen before. I at the moment I can't place my finger on it, but seeing how familiar it is, and how I liked it, I was just drawn to Stellarlands. Yeah.
And the characters. Sorry, Max.
Yeah. If I can add on to that as well, I guess it's because the vagaries of putting a specific influence is because most of my influences aren't strictly comic books, and if they are, I'm not a strictly superhero comic book person. My favorite comic book is From Hell by Michael Moore. No, that'd be amazing if Michael Moore wrote From Hell. No, by Alan Moore. And if anyone familiar with that can tell you that it is decidedly not about superheroes. In fact, the constable at the center of investigating the Jack the Ripper murderers is depicted as a decidedly mediocre detective. That said, I find myself gravitating towards finding the extraordinary detail out of really ordinary visual iterations, and I like to read. One of the consistent feedback that I've had from the letterer SK and the artist Ben was, there's too much dialogue on this page. There's too much dialogue on this page. Pare it down. Can't help it. I love reading plays. I'm going through Sam Shepard's plays right now. He's so messed up. Can I swear here, by the way, or is it?
He
He wrote. Sam Shepard wrote. Was it True West, which is so fucked up, but the most petty yet life-giving jealousy between these two brothers, and the dialogue is so formidable, and you're just carried along with it. That by the time you've reached like Act 5, you're, oh wow, I've already finished 80 pages and it's only been it's only felt like 10 minutes. I love reading dialogue, and yeah, I love the Bard. You know, I read Richard III recently, and yeah, I'm constantly I'm constantly reading. If you can't see me in front of you right now, I'm probably somewhere reading, and that's how I'd like to depict or market Stellarlands or anything, or any comic book I write in the future. It's not, the book isn't for fans of comic books. It's for fans of books, for people who like to read, which isn't to, you know, be diminutive about comic books. I mean, I think if you get the greatest artist in the world, you know, and you get the greatest writer in the world, and you pair them up, what do you think they're going to work on? They're going to work on a comic book. And yeah, that said, that's one of my major drives. Really, is to write something that readers would read. You know, without you know, making light of this magic medium of comic books. Yeah. So yeah, it's a comic book for fans of reading. Yeah.
It's funny you mentioned the dialogue, because I'm one of these readers that don't pay that much attention to art as much as other people that really do appreciate art. And there's been a lot of criticism with, let's say, Brian Michael Bendis, for example, with some of his writing, which I love because there's so much dialogue. And I remember people complaining about it in one of his books a while ago. It's just talking. And I'm of the opposite opinion, where if I'm putting my money into something and I'm reading it, I want to get as much out of it as possible. And when I'm reading your book, for example, there is a lot of dialogue on some pages, but to me, that is not a negative thing. To me, that's a positive, because you're getting more of a conversation. You're not taking shortcuts in conversations, and the conversation's there for a reason as well. So not once am I reading the comic and thinking to myself, this is too much, I want to get through to the action or through to the next part or whatever. I was engaged the whole time. So yeah, if you are one of these people that do get turned off just by looking at a page and seeing a lot of dialogue, I highly recommend you power through that and just actually read, because it's worth it.
Yes. Well, yeah, when the content is strong enough, you'll I don't even think you'll see it as words. You'll see it as characters and situations. If I can give an example, I mean, I've read all the Harry Potter books, and my favorite book is the third Harry Potter book, and it's also my favorite of the movies as well, Prisoner of Azkaban. Have you guys read it, or are you familiar with it?
Many years ago.
Anyways, yes. Well, the climax of that book, without giving away too much because it's such a rich experience, but the climax of that book is 4 characters in the Shrieking Shack just talking to each other, just revealing connections of their past. Okay. And yeah, I just devoured those chapters immediately. And when all that information carries that amount of weight, yeah. Well, Claudia knows what I'm talking about. The conversation at the Shrieking Shack, which is the climax of book 3. They weren't fighting some fucking giant snake. They weren't getting into a living chess match. There was no Triwizard tournament. It was just 4 people in a shack talking to each other. Sometimes that's what life is, but when there's weight and emotion behind those words, it's more impactful than, you know, fighting a giant snake that can turn you into stone.
Yeah, bloody oath.
Cool.
So, Steve, seeing as you had some technical issues, I'm going to put you on the spot now and say it's your turn, mate.
How's it?
Again, isn't he? He's doing it again, isn't he? You're taking the piss now, aren't you, Steve?
Steve.
Maybe not.
No,
You know what? He's going to watch this tomorrow and he's going to absolutely piss himself laughing. All right. Anyway, moving on. That did not work out the way that I was hoping it was going to work out just then. So, Max, you say that you're a huge reader, not just comics, but books and all that sort of stuff. So, favorite book, favorite comic, favorite play?
All right. Well, I guess these are all going to be very boring answers because when it comes to books, how many people say Catcher in the Rye? Everybody, a lot of people say Catcher. Well, it's my favorite book. There's a reason why it's so loved. You got. Well, first of all, yes, it's easily digestible material, but on some deep, I almost selfish level, I find myself relating to the character in the most in the most flawed, eccentric way. Like he's obsessed with keeping things just so, or Holden Caulfield, he can't even bring himself to throw a snowball at a nice car. He's teetering between childhood and maturity. And I look, we make comic books. People are always going to throw infantilism back at us. So in many ways, we live in that space. And I guess that's why I find myself following Holden Caulfield's journey throughout the book. And he wants to be a catcher in the rye. He does when his little sister asks him, what do you want to do for a living? What do you want to do after school? He can't muster up to say, I want to be a writer, which is, as we later learn, what his heart is most directed to. But he can't even evoke a vision of him working. So he imagines himself catching children in a field of rye, and that's just a wonderful metaphor for being lost. And I don't think there is anything wrong with being lost and not knowing what you want to do in life within the next 3 years or within the next 30, or not having a 5-year plan and all of that stuff. But I found myself really. Yeah, I found all of that really resonating with my identity and what I was going through at that time. And you didn't mention movie, but I'll also throw in movie there for the same reasons. My favorite movie is The Graduate. Dustin Hoffman having an affair with Anne Bancroft, Mrs. Robinson. You're trying to deduce me. In the first quarter of the film, he's in a fetal position, bobbing around in a pool. Yeah, the camera, Mike Nichols' lens is just following him, just floating, just waiting in a pool. And this guy was an overachiever back at university. At the beginning of the film, the opening scenes after the airport, he's having a party in his honor for all of his achievements and how everybody expects amazing things from him. That one word, plastics. I don't know what that means. Invest in plastics. I don't know. But for the rest of the film, he's very self-destructive. He commits to this affair with the father's business partner's wife, and much to the detriment of his own love life. That level of self-sabotage and of being lost, it's an endemic of someone who doesn't know what they want to do with their life. And there is absolutely nothing wrong with that. Just don't be an asshole. Don't be a prick. My favorite. One word. I've already mentioned my favorite comic book. It's From Hell.
You did, yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
And anybody who has read it will know the granular detail. I believe it's called discursive thinking that went into the comic book, and how one situation can have so many permutations around it. You get the story of the women who were killed, the Jack the Ripper, the potential killer, the doctor, and his own upbringing. You have the mediocre detective and his life at home. You have the architecture of London. That in itself is a character, and all of these things collide in a way that harkens to very real, researchable instances and people's. You have quote unquote comic book cameos from people like Oscar Wilde is in it, and I think Wild Bill is in it as well. That level of detail is just it's just really remarkable to me, you know. I was that video game Skyrim. The people were freaking out when they were playing it. I saw these trending clips of people looking down at the ground and seeing ants. Like that level in a video game has nothing to do with a plot. There's ants in the grass. That level of detail is comparable to Alan Moore's level of detail and research with From Hell. And my favorite play, I'll split that in two. I'll say a classic play. My favorite classic play is Richard III by William Shakespeare. You know, he's a bastard, but his climb to power is disturbingly relatable. And just the speeches, those robust speeches. Now is the winter of our discontent. So good. And my favorite favorite modern play is The Real Thing by Tom Stoppard, which focuses. Tom Stoppard wrote it in 1986. I think it won the Tony. It's a very mature look at an affair between a playwright and one of his actresses. And again, a lot of the verbal pyrotechnics are very show-offy, but that's the sort of thing I like. I like that those sort of the verbal dances. Aaron Sorkin comes to mind, or Paddy Chayefsky, and Tom Stoppard executes it well, and it was a very mature look at love, really. And I can't really say more about it because the first scene isn't really the first scene if you see it. It turns into something else, and then you realize the two people in that first scene are embodying something else quite entirely. I really recommend it. The Real Thing by Tom Stoppard.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to check that one out.
Yeah, same.
I want to jump in.
Yeah, mate.
Back to the Kickstarter. And also, this is a bit of an ad for the shop as well. So I'm going to go totally off track here. So, I don't know. This seems like a good spot to do it. Our comics come bagged and boarded. So that's one. We put them in a padded envelope to ship them to you, which is then put into a box. Now, if you buy more than one comic, of course, it's a bigger box than this. But I just wanted to be very clear that we take a lot of care to look after your comics, because I'm a comic collector. So I pack and ship and send it out as if it was my own comics. So I just wanted to make that very clear to everyone, that we take a lot of care and effort to get these out to you in as best condition as possible. And for a comic book as awesome as this one, as you can see in there, care should be taken to get it out to you so you get it in perfect condition. I think Max did a video the other day. He showed unwrapping it, and it had been raining in Sydney, and it was still in good condition.
Yes, it was in pristine condition. It was perfect.
And I will admit as well, not just saying it because I'm on the show and the sponsoring and all that sort of jazz, but I've actually bought some books from Comx, and I was blown away by the packaging. It's really, really good. It comes perfect. In saying that, though, Comx is the sponsor of this show, and the things that I will mention that Sizzle does not mention is that it doesn't matter how many comics you do buy from the website. They will ship it at one flat postage rate, which is a huge
in Australia.
which is a huge winner for me. So go there, because not only can you go check out all the greatest Australian creators, writers, artists, illustrators, anything to do with Australian creators, go there and check it out. You can also check out, I'm guessing, the Stellarlands. There'll be links on there. We've got the link coming up, stellarlands.comx.studio there as well.
That's to the Kickstarter. Yep.
We've also got this one as well, the Kickstarter.
Yeah, it's the full link. Yep.
That's the full link. Anything else, Shane?
Well, I just wanted to say, we were talking about Comx Studio, which is the publisher of Comx. There's still Comx itself, the network, and you were just talking about Comx Shop. This probably sounds a bit confusing when there's so many things, but there's also the Comx Network, which is all about a community for creators, be them writers, artists, hell, even if they're just fans wanting to talk to these people. The Comx Network, or I just call Comx, is all about that community. It's all about coming together and helping each other out. And as just to coin a phrase from Lee Chalker, community is unity. So yes, that one's for you, Lee.
Yes, and if I can just add on to that, I think I'm in very good company. I've read a lot of the titles there. We do review each other's work, and Lee is one of them. I'm a big fan of Battle for Bustle. I think that's a very detailed, very grimy, very Orwellian world that he's created. I just recently read Dushan's book, Liza Ray, which is the opposite of Stellarlands. It's very spare dialogue, and it's purely kinetic. And reading it reminded me of watching Mad Max Fury Road. You're just thrown into it, and you're turning one page after the other, getting caught away with the motion and the kineticism of it all. And that's it. I do believe I'm in very good company. I've read Detective Budgie and No Man's Land, and there's a lot of excellent titles there.
There's. Yes. Oh yes, Sluggish.
I ordered that,
but still freaking awesome.
Yeah, I ordered. I don't think I ordered it from Comx though. That
was a Kickstarter. Psycho Janitor did. That's the publisher of Sluggish.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Prepare for 30 minutes of unwrapping.
Lee, I don't know what you're sending us, bro, but how did you even do that?
Yeah.
That's weird as, man. Evening, everyone. Gary.
Hey, Gary.
Gary, yes, he bought a copy of Stellarlands. Hello, Gary. It was nice meeting you at Comic-Con. Yes, and your purple shirt. I remember you were wearing a purple shirt. But if I can go back to Sluggish, can I just say that I ordered that from Kickstarter? They sent it promptly, and my landlord sent it back because it was directed to Max Ferrada, which is my pen name. My real name is Martin Ponferrada. So if whoever is in charge of the sending of Sluggish, I apologize. I do believe I've sent you an email. Please send it back. I am a reader, and I would love to read. With my landlord, send it down. I'm not gonna ask for a refund or anything. You've earned my I'm not sure how much I gave, maybe 15, 20 or something, but whatever was the pledge mark there. But the landlady knows now. She knows that she is custodian to someone in her property named Max. As well as Martin, and feel free to send it on.
Awesome. Well, Max, thank you so much for joining us. And I say this to a few people, and I mean it. You ever want to come back on the show? You want to plug more stuff that you do in the future, or you just want to hang around and talk some comic news, mate? You just let us know, and you're always welcome. Sizzle, same with you, bro.
Yeah.
Yep. Thank you very much. And hopefully we'll do this 7 more times, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
It's just quickly. How long is the Kickstarter going for?
It's got 22 more days.
22 more days. All right, awesome. Let's get it over that 100%.
Yes, I believe we are at 86 And I'm really ecstatic about that. It's only been a week. I know a lot of people meet their pledges within an hour, but the fact that we've even got pledges in the first day was super encouraging, and I'm very grateful. Every pledge is really appreciated, and you will wind up on the special thanks on the book. And Shane, no minimum amount to get onto that page. Is that correct?
No, just got to pledge and get your name on there.
Yes,
That's pretty cool. That's
Excellent.
pretty cool. I see Sharif
Yeah,
pledging right now. I knew it.
I'm there now.
Good man, good man.
awesome. Thank you, sir.
One thing I wanted to note, when you pledge in the next 24 hours, what I'm going to do, so Sharif, you get to do this. You get to message me after you've pledged. Message me that you saw this show, and I will give you a Sidrus as well.
Ooh.
Oh,
You get one of these. Next 24 hours, pledge, and I'll whack that into the package with it.
And I've read that, ladies and gentlemen, and that's worth it. That's great book.
Three stories in one. Yes.
So just make sure you comment that you saw the AussieVerse.
cool.
Awesome.
Excellent.
Awesome. Purple shirt was the other guy, the other Gary.
The other Gary. Wrong Gary. Oh, yeah, no. You saw Gary Della. Yeah, that's what it was.
I don't know. My apologies. My apologies, Gary. Sir.
Sorry, I was thinking Gary was there and I missed him. Oh, yeah, okay.
No. But you remember a purple shirt when you see it. There's something about the color that just zaps your brain, you know? Purple really smacks you in the face, yeah.
Well, thank you very much. This has been AussieVerse with another live chat. I know it's been a while since we've had one, but hey, good things come to those who wait. We'll be back very soon with another custom corner. We have a couple more haul videos coming at you. We have more things coming from all sides. I don't know how that sounds, but I meant that in a good way. And as usual, Sharif, what is AussieVerse, my friend?
For life, brother.
For life, that's right. Here's a word from our sponsor. Who are they again?
This show is sponsored by the Comx shop. Check out comx.cx for all things Comx and find out what Comx is all about. We hope you enjoyed the show.